The truth is, you are not going to stop those feelings of shoulder instability, even prevent dislocations, and most importantly, rebuild the confidence in your shoulder that you are looking for by doing endless amounts of band work. I know that to be true because I tried the band work and it didn't work when I continued to dislocate my shoulder, and we still see the same problem with the clients and athletes that we work with today. What you need to start thinking about is how can we train the brain in order to rebuild the confidence and the control, the dynamic stability that is so important in preventing shoulders from feeling unstable when you return back to full training or sport. The important thing to take away from this video is to remember that the brain is task focused. That means that if we can give it a job to do, we start to change the dynamics of the movement pattern. I'll show you in a second with an exercise how you can do that, and all of a sudden things just start to flow a little bit better. It gets us away from this isolated thinking around certain exercises with certain muscle focuses and back into more of a systems-based approach where function is the primary outcome, which it should be if we are looking for an effective return to sport or activity, because function is what ultimately matters, not how strong your infraspinatus is. Now we're going to use the rings as a little bit of an example, and you might need to scale this, so I'll take you through some progressions, but ultimately this is a great little opportunity. The rings create an awesome environment which we can play around with to create tasks so that the brain can do the job, and that is going to do wonders for your shoulder stability and your confidence that you have in your upper limb. Now, for those of you that haven't used the gymnastics rings before, you need to build into it because they do take a little bit of getting used to, but it is exactly that reason why they offer so much value in a shoulder reconditioning training program. Now, we have to remember that these things are going to move. So if you are starting out, the best place to begin is with the shoulders resting on the straps, the rings in nice and close. We talk about out here being no man's land, right? We don't want to go out here because bad things happen. So to begin with, keep it nice and tight and keep it controlled. You might begin with something which we call a front support, just holding this position in a fairly stable shape. We can start to play around with some small rotations of the wrists just to start to get that pattern nailed down. Now, what we like to do from here is to progress to a point where we aren't leaning on the straps, which is going to create a higher level of stability demand. So I'm going to move my hand slightly, I'm going to move my forearm a little bit, and all of a sudden now you can see there's clear space between my forearm and the rings and the strap on my shoulder. This is again going to create a little bit of a stability challenge, but you can build into it, and soon it won't take long before you feel more confident. We may then want to progress just so that we've got some real competency into some push-up positions on the rings. You can scale these by changing body angle. And again, you can go right back to the beginning by leaning on the straps to create that stability before you then go and challenge that pattern with the no contact. Now the last little bit, and this is the point that I want to get to, give the brain a job. So right now we've built some basic strength, some basic competency, but now we want to build confidence and have the higher levels of trust that we're looking for in the shoulder. So if I got you into a push-up position and I said, now take your hand off the ring, all of a sudden you're gonna be like, I don't know how to do that. The brain has a hard task to try and just coordinate where to shift the weight, and it feels kind of awkward. Whereas if we now make it task focused and your job is to throw the ring away and then catch it, what you're gonna find all of a sudden is like, oh yeah, no, I can do that. That's pretty straightforward. So the job now is all of a sudden brain focused, brain finds a solution. And that whole time what we're doing is getting, yes, good stability from the single arm support stance without really thinking about it, but we're also building confidence because now you go, well, actually, you can start to learn to trust your shoulder a little bit more. But ultimately, you might need to scale this and start it from a level which is appropriate for where you're at with your rehab plan, where you are in terms of your shoulder stability, whether you've avoiding surgery, had surgery. So always earn the right to progress and make sure that you're only moving in positions and patterns where you trust your shoulder. But as I said, back up the video. Remember, the focus for this is to think about creating opportunities to give the brain a job to do, create task-focused movement challenges, and that's going to do a whole lot of good things in terms of rebuilding that stability and confidence that you have in your shoulder, which is going to give you the best opportunity to fully return to sport or athletic activities, and most importantly, not only to return, but to stay there.